So we are learning about HTML and CSS, and we're using this GitHub repo. My username on GitHub is goes211, Rob Reiner movie reference, Spinal Tap. And here is the repo. It's HTML CSS Bootcamp. So star this repo so it gets moved to the top. And then follow me on Twitter, because I'm always tweeting about building websites, front end and back end. And then also, if you want to see the videos for this, you can go to YouTube, Greater Commons, and that'll bring up the videos that I'm creating about the front end here, building websites. And there's a channel there, just look through the videos. And you should check out this website I'm building, Greater Commons. And it's all about helping people learn skills and turn that into economic opportunity. So you learn how to do something, make some money from it. It's a pretty cool website. All right, so all that said, we're going to learn about formatting text. And we're going to learn font, font family, font size, font weight, font variant, line height, font style, font family property, font size property, all these different things. So we're going to take a look at all that. And then we'll have some hands-on exercises at the end. So I am in this HTML CSS directory. And let me just see here the first file, formatting text. Formatting text, section overview, and then we have font property, and a lot of stuff highlighted, and it's files 025 formatting text, 025 formatting text. And so here's the first one we can look at, and then we have these different things here which are highlighted. So let's just look at this for a second. And the first thing is there's MDN font, Mozilla Developer Network font. And so if we click on that, or we could just Google MDN font. The font CSS property is either a shorthand property for setting font style, font variant, font weight, font size, line height, and font family, or a way to set the element's font to a system font using specific keywords. As with any shorthand CSS property, the values which are not set in it are set to their individual initial values, possibly overriding values previously set using non-shorthand properties. So that's just something to watch out for. So you can use shorthand, and then they have some syntax, font 2M, open sans, sans-serif. So this would be the font family and the size, right? Here's the size, here's the family. And you can see that font size and font family are two of these properties that you could set. And then you have the shorthand font where you could just set them with shorthand. So until you learn kind of each of these individual ones, you should do it the long way. And then when you know the long way, you could break it down to the short way. So font size, font family, that's pretty straightforward. Here we have style, italic, size, 2M, family, open sans, sans-serif. And so you might be wondering, what is sans? So in French, Google Translate, sans in French is without. Right? Well, what's a serif? Serif is serif. English to English. Let's go French to English, see what it is in French. Serif is French, translate from English, is still a serif. You mean serif? Serif. So I think of serifs as like feet. And so feet are, you know, like a sans serif is without feet. And so sans serif fonts don't have feet. And you could Google that. So you could say sans serif, serif versus serif, right? Serific. There we go. This is what I want. And we could just look at some images here. And so here's which one has feet? The one on the left. So this would be a serif font, and this is a sans serif font. No feet. Okay, how many people knew that about sans serif already? How many people that's new to you? Cool. All right, so now you know sans serif. And you could see sans versus sans serif, right? You could see like what is the best for the web. Which are more legible, serif or sans-serif typefaces. And generally speaking, you're going to find that sans-serif is favored for the web. Sans-serif, not serif. Okay. So here we have, again, style, italic, variant, small caps, right? So we have up here font variant, and font variant, small caps, and then weight, bolder, and stretch, condensed, right? And size, line height. 16 pic size, line height 3, cursive is family. So kind of interesting just how you could set all of those different ones. And then here are some examples. So when you have two of them here like that, the first one is the size, and the second one is the line height. That's kind of weird. Size, line height, and then the type, the family. Okay, set the font size to 12 and line height to 14, and the font family to sans-serif. So font size 12, line height 14, and family sans-serif. Set font size to 80% of the parent element. So those are just some of them. And so let's go back and look at our notes here and see what else we have. So font family is a prioritized list of font family names. And so the values for that, for font family, are the family name and then the generic name. Right? So those are different values. And you can see all this stuff, and I think it's good to get used to like looking at the documentation, not being afraid of it, and making sure it makes sense to you. If we look at font family, right, lets you specify a prioritized list of font family names. And then if you look at the values, family name, generic name, and serif, sans-serif, monospace, cursive, these are some of the generic names. And then we have serif versus sans-serif. And here are some articles. Current web design favors sans-serif, and then these articles back that up. And so you could click these links to these articles, and I'll just bring them up. So if you're watching this online, well, you could Google the names of these articles if you're watching this online. But I'll also just bring it up. And so here's serif versus sans-serif. So print, serif, web, sans-serif. Just a general rule of thumb. And so here is here's a web page that kind of punches at that. They're using a serif instead of sans-serif on the web page. Here's another serif on a web page, right? And here's some sans-serif in print, I guess. Sans-serif, or that's a serif right there. There's a sans-serif. 55 to 2011. All the money in the world, not another moment could he buy, or however that thing goes, dust in the wind. Font size. So there's a user default font size, usually on browsers at 16 pixels. And then we have font size values, so you could set those text values small, medium, large, like that. And then we also have these lengths, so you could use lengths. And so, that's good just looking at this. All right, we looked at font family. Let's look at font size. So here's font size. And it specifies the size of the font. And here's the syntax and some absolute size values, relative size values, length values. Right? And here are the values. These up here, those there, or length percentage, and a positive length or percentage value. So we can look at what a length is, and we saw this last week. It's a data type. So length is a data type, denotes distance measurements. And so we can look at different lengths here. We have M, EX, EH, IE, RIM, RIH, LH, RLH, VH, VW, VI, VB, VMin, VMax. Right, these are some different lengths that we could use. And then we could also use percentage. And percentage is also a data type, percentage data type. And it's just straight up percentage. So the lengths that we're going to learn will be, we'll learn M and RIM and VH and VW. And we'll also learn percentage, and we'll learn pixel, just specifying the exact pixel. And so all of those there's different ways you could use them. So M, RIM, VH, VW, percentage, and pixel. So your default, on your browser, you have a default font size, and usually that's 16 pixels, okay? And so a RIM is a root element. And that 16 pixels is attached to the root element, which is the HTML element. And so if you say, I want this to be 2 RIM, you're saying 2 times 16 pixels. because that's the root element setting. But if somebody had a different root element setting, it'll be 2 times whatever they've set it to for their default font size for their browser. So that's rem, root element. M looks to the parent. Give me 2M. What's the size of my parent's font above me? I want twice that. And so that's good if you're trying to build a little box and keep everything proportional within the box to each other. You could do that. So rem, M, VH is viewport height, VW is viewport width on a scale of 100. How much of that, right? Percent is just a percent of whatever my parent's setting is. So it's kind of like M. And pixels is just like whatever, this many pixels. And that gets a little bit tricky because pixels are different on every machine. Different machines have different pixels, different pixel densities. So there's font, larger, smaller, length, percentage. Font weight, normal, bold, lighter, lighter, or you could use these numbers. And so normal is the same as using the number 400. Bold is the same as using the number 700. Font variant, normal, small, tilting, unicase, uppercase, lowercase, capitalize. Sorry, text transform is uppercase, lowercase, capitalize. Font variant is normal, small caps. I just put text transform there because those are similar. Line height. On block level elements, line height property specifies the minimum height of line boxes within the element. Leading is the space between lines, and kerning is the space between characters. Values, normal, number, length, percentage. And then font style is normal, italic, and oblique. So that's a little introduction to fonts, just terminology and the font shorthand property and the other properties which make up the font shorthand property. What stands out to you? Like, what's your takeaway from that? Oh crap, there's a lot to know. Or, I don't know, I'll figure it out. Or, I like the sans-serif serif, right? I now know that sans-serif and serif difference. Which one's used on the web predominantly? Serif or sans-serif? Sans-serif. Which one's used in print predominantly? Serif. And yeah, I was just gonna say something else. So in the next video, we'll start looking at how do we set some of this stuff and playing with it. So let's go ahead and get to that.